something was already watching. Not from the trees, not from the grass, from above. 3.5 million years ago, on the sun-cracked plains of East Africa, a small creature stood upright in the open. No claws, no fangs, no armor, just instinct and hunger. In one small fist, a baby chick, still warm, still alive. And in the sky above, something turned. What happened next would push this creature to the edge of extinction. And somehow, it survived. But how? How did something so small, so slow, so exposed, outlast the giants that hunted it? Stay with me, because this is the story they never told you in school. Before we see what happened to Kiru, we need to understand the world he was born into, because nothing about this world was designed for his survival. This is the Pliocene epoch in Africa. Approximately 3.5 million years ago. The world is in flux. The climate is shifting. Forests that once stretched for thousands of miles are retreating. In their place is an open savanna, grassland, exposure. For the creatures emerging from those vanishing forests, the open plain was a death sentence. But one species refused to hide. Australopithecus afarensis. They walked, on two legs, upright, heads raised above the grass, eyes scanning the horizon, already evolving a brain that could think beyond the moment. Scientists estimate that their brain was about 1/3 the size of ours. But here's what matters. It was growing, faster than any primate before them. And that growth was being driven by pressure, by death, by near extinction, by moments exactly like the one we just saw. These creatures were not hunters, not yet. They were scavengers, opportunists. They stole, they ran, they hid. And on rare, desperate occasions, they fought back. And in the skies above this savanna, something had mastered the art of hunting them. If you want to know what it actually felt like to live on this planet 3 million years ago, you're in the right place. This is Hominid Echoes. If you're new here, hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Where in the world are you watching from? I read every single one. Now, back to the open savanna. Back to the creature that refuses to die. Why did Kiru steal the chicks? Simple. He was starving. Not starving the way you feel before lunch. Starving the way animals starve, with the edge of death in every step, every decision. The dry season had lasted 3 months. The dry riverbed hadn't seen water in 6 weeks. The large prey animals, the antelope, the zebra, had migrated north. What was left were bones, insects, roots, seeds, and eggs. Australopithecus afarensis were extraordinary generalists. Fossil evidence of their teeth shows they ate everything. Tough plant material, fruit, insects, and yes, meat when they could get it. But they didn't hunt. They waited. They watched. The lions, the leopards, the hyenas make a kill. And then they moved in afterwards, stealing scraps, racing against vultures. Always one mistake away from becoming someone else's meal. They lived in the margins, and the margins were full of predators. On this particular morning, Kiru had spotted something extraordinary. At the base of a dead acacia tree is a ground nest. A large bird, species unknown to him, had built a shallow nest and laid 3 eggs. 2 had already hatched. 2 small, warm, helpless chicks. For an Australopithecus, such food was treasure. Protein, fat, calories, life. He waited until the parent bird left the nest. He watched from the grass, motionless, patient. A patience that was perhaps the earliest ancestor of strategic thinking. Then he moved, fast and low, grabbed both chicks before they could make a sound, turned to run. That was the mistake. She had been watching the nest for 2 days. From a mile above the savannah, the bird was not an eagle in the modern sense. Scientists have found evidence of giant raptors in Pliocene Africa. Birds of prey so large they could take hominid juveniles. The Haast's eagle of New Zealand, extinct only 600 years ago, could strike prey at 80 kilometers per hour and carry away animals 3 times its own weight. Imagine something like that, but older, more evolved for exactly this savannah, exactly this prey. She had circled for an hour after Kiru entered her territory, watched him approach the nest, watched him take her young. And now, with the cold patience of a creature that has never needed to hurry, she folded her wings. And she dropped. 80 kilometers per hour. Wings folded, talons forward. 12 kilograms of ancient predator. Kiru heard it before he saw it. A sound like tearing air. The sound was akin to the sky breaking apart. He turned, and the world went dark. The first strike hit his shoulder. The talons raked across his back, not enough to kill, but enough to knock him sideways, send him sprawling in the dust, the chicks tumbling from his grip. He screamed, high-pitched, piercing, involuntary. The alarm call from Australopithecus, the one his species had been refining for hundreds of thousands of years, the one his troop could hear from half a kilometer away. The bird landed 2 meters away, wings spread over 2 meters of feather and fury. Her beak is open, her eyes, amber, fixed, inhuman. She looked at Kiru. She looked at the chicks. She made her calculation. She advanced. But everything was about to change, because Kiru did something no creature had done before in quite this way. He didn't just run. He remembered. The human brain, even at this early stage, was developing something extraordinary. Episodic memory. The ability to recall a specific past event and apply it to the present moment. Not instinct, not reflex, actual memory. Kiru remembered the tree. He remembered the rock outcropping at the edge of the dry riverbed. He remembered that the bird, when it struck, came from a specific direction, from the south, with the sun behind it. These are not abstract observations. These are survival algorithms being written in real time in the emerging human nervous system. Because here's the thing that makes Australopithecus afarensis so extraordinary, and the fossil record confirms this. They were already using tools. Not sophisticated tools, but tools. Shaped stones, sticks, bones. Objects chosen, carried, and used intentionally. Kiru's hands, as he struggled to his feet, his back bleeding, found a stone. Not by accident. He had carried it, all morning, in the same hand that wasn't holding a chick. A smooth, fist-sized basalt rock, dense and heavy, perfect for throwing. He threw it. It missed, but it made the bird flinch. Step back, reassess. That flinch was everything. In that moment, 3.5 million years ago on a dusty African plain, a hominid discovered that tools could be used as weapons, that intelligence could compensate for size. The mind is the most powerful predator on this planet, and the troop was watching. They saw Kiru throw the stone, They saw the bird flinch, and one by one, their hands began to search the ground. The troop arrived. 8 hominids, screaming, throwing sticks, rocks, and clods of dirt. Their voices are a wall of sound, chaotic, overwhelming, and impossible for the bird's nervous system to process. Birds of prey are solitary hunters. They rely on surprise, silence, and isolation. Remove those 3 things, and you remove the predator's advantage entirely. The giant raptor spread her wings to their full, terrifying span. A display, a warning. She struck twice more, fast, sweeping blows with her talons, catching one of the younger males across the arm. He shrieked, but he didn't run. He picked up a rock, and he threw it. Harder. This is the moment evolutionary biologists point to again and again. Not the moment one hominid used a tool, but the moment several did. Together, simultaneously, in coordination. Cooperative tool use. Group problem solving. The germ of everything that would eventually become civilization. The bird stoned her wing. It didn't break, but it hurt. She looked at the group. 8 creatures, all upright, all screaming, all throwing. The cost-benefit calculation of a predator shifted in an instant. She took 3 running steps, wings spread, and she was airborne. Circling, rising, the screaming below is fading. Gone. Silence fell on the plain like a physical thing. The troop stood together, breathing hard, bleeding slightly. The adrenaline was shaky, as it had nowhere else to go. Kiru looked at his hands. The stone was still in his palm. 2 chicks, impossibly, are still alive at his feet. One of them had made it through the chaos unharmed. The other had a broken leg. He picked them both up, and he walked back to the troop. The elder male touched his wounded shoulder, a gesture that scientists would take millions of years to label empathy. But here, in this moment, in the dust of the Pliocene, it was simply, I see you. You survived. We survived. That night, and there is a scientific basis for believing this, the troop did something unique. They didn't just eat the food and sleep. They communicated. Not with language, not with words, but with gesture, sound, and demonstration. Kiru showed the others the stone, threw it again, gently, in the direction where the bird had been. The younger males watched. 2 of them picked up rocks, mimicked the motion. They were teaching. Not deliberately, not consciously, but behaviorally. The way all knowledge, all human knowledge, began. Watching, copying, refining. From this moment, from one desperate act of survival on one ordinary afternoon in the Pliocene, came everything. The first tools, the first weapons, the first cooperative strategy. The first lesson passed from one mind to another. This was the initial link in a chain that, 3.5 million years later, led to the screen you're currently viewing. We are made of moments like this one. Not moments of glory, not triumph, desperation, hunger. A small creature in the open holding something precious, with the sky turning dark above it, and choosing, against every reasonable calculation, to stand. Kiru didn't know what he had started. He didn't know that his descendants, across 3 million years, would take that stone and refine it into a blade, then a spear, then a bow, then a rifle, then a satellite. He didn't know that the cooperation of those 8 hominids on a dusty African plain would eventually become cities, nations, armies, parliaments, music, and medicine. He knew only this. The sun had set. His troop was alive. The chicks, at least one of them, would feed the youngest members tomorrow. And somewhere in the dark above the savannah, a great bird circled and found other prey. Life continued, as it always had, as it always would. Here is what the fossil record tells us. Australopithecus afarensis survived for nearly 3 million years. 3 million years. For context, modern Homo sapiens have existed for perhaps 300,000 years. We have a long way to go before we match their record. They weren't the fastest, they weren't the strongest, they weren't the biggest. But they were, in the most precise scientific sense of the word, clever. And it turns out that clever beats everything. The next time you feel small, overwhelmed, something vast and indifferent surpasses you, remember Kiru, standing in the open, holding something precious. The sky is turning dark, and still, standing. This was the world that made us, and there is so much more to discover. If this episode moved you, if it made you feel the weight of where we came from, then subscribe to Hominid Echoes. Every week, we go further back, deeper into the story. We are closer to the truth of who we are. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.